Welcome back to The Leadership Effect. I'm Camilla and I'm here with lovely Cathrin.
Thank you.
And today we're talking about something that is fundamental to leadership, inclusion.
Oh, yes, and it's so important. And I think one of the things that we should address, given the geopolitical climate at the moment, a lot of people might think like, oh, here we go again, corporate policy, they're back with the D&I, eyes glazing over, or even a roll in the back of the head. But it's important. It's true leadership, right?
Exactly. So they might be thinking, my company's cutting back on these programs, so is this even a priority anymore? But that's precisely what we're going to talk about today, right? This isn't about program or politics. It's about people.
Yeah. And in previous episodes, we talk a lot around Gen Z and that they are actually thinking about inclusion much more and D&I, and it's really important for them. So like there are the politics that can say like, oh, it's not important anymore and we're gonna not progress in these programs, but it's not going away, right? So what we need to do is really talk about it, and what we as leaders can do, despite the politics not being or the companies even not funding these programs, what can we leaders do to keep it alive and be inclusive in our styles and in our leading?
Yeah. I fully agree. I think there's a lot that leaders can do, but let's define what we're even talking about, because at its heart, inclusive leadership is the skill of making people feel seen, heard, valued consistently over time, right? Yeah.
And I love this because it's actionable. As a leader, it's not about the title you get, it's how you show up every day in these moments that matter, right? And my favorite analogy is for this, that the inclusive leader, it's not about being a soloist, but it's about being a conductor, right?
Yes, and I love that. And I remember this conference that I went to, and there was like one person, the orchestra started playing, and then another one, and then a third, and then a fourth. And in the end, you had this amazing music coming through from the orchestra as a whole. It was just really, really powerful. I even got chills now as I talked about it.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting? As a child, you see the conductor and you think like, oh, he's just doing this. But it's actually the most important job that he's doing. He's quieting the drums when it's the flute's turn, right? And give them their moment. And it's really making it into really beautiful melody, which only really can happen when all work in sync. But it's the conductor's job to make those happen and have those voices heard that would be sounded by other instruments.
Yeah. It's kind of getting the best out of every single section, right? And it's kind of, for me, it's the perfect image. It means you're actively creating space for different voices, right?
Absolutely.
Because that's kind of what you do in an orchestra. And if we do that as leaders, making space for different voices, we're questioning our own unconscious bias, right?
Yes.
And make sure that we're not just listening to people who are similar to ourselves, that think and sound like us, and we intentionally pull other people in.
Yeah, I think we did a program, didn't we? And we did this exercise, which was actually really eye-opening for myself as well. So we were asked, which are your 5 go-to people that you normally go for advice? And you were writing down what is their age, what is their ethnicity, I think where they were located, where were they from, like in which function were they in a company, or so on and so forth. And then you look at those 5 people that you go for advice, and suddenly you realize 4 out of these 3 people are all in HR, are all millennials. They might be coming from different cultures, but all the similar age. And then you realize I'm asking always people that think similar for me. So you need to go to people that actually are very diverse, because then you get diverse ideas and also new input and thinking. And this is when, again, we can make a greater melody.
Exactly. I mean, there's been research on this, and you check this before we started
I don't
podcast,
have any stat here, but basically inclusive leader, they are not just feel better to be led by, but they also perform better. And I mean, what's not to like about that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense that you're more innovative if you ask for perspectives from different people.
Yeah.
Because if you always ask the people who are similar to you, they're going to bring you something that is similar-ish or like just agree with what you already have. So they're not going to build on it.
So they're more engaged, they're more innovative, but also they make, to your point, much better decisions because they've got different inputs and a wider lens, basically. So this where it's getting really interesting for businesses to actually, they should be investing more in it rather than cutting out. But some people don't want to be challenged in their thinking, right? And that's why they're cutting all those things.
Yeah. I mean,
I had to make that little dig.
Yes. I mean, it's always easier to go to someone that, thinks similar to you and they say, that's a great idea. And then you can just move forward with it. Yeah. But it won't it won't give the best result, right? But we have a big myth to bust about inclusion. And that's the idea that you need this big, expensive program to kind of really make a difference.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it's important to raise awareness and make people aware of the benefits of it. But actually, you don't need the budget. What you really need is the intention. And inclusive leadership starts actually not with a program. It starts with small micro habits, actually, that all of us have in everyday actions, right? So it's not just the big bang. And these are not things that are set up at the boardroom. Each and every one can do those. As Michael Jackson already says, start with the man in the mirror.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, point is, don't give up. Although there might not be this big program, we can still make a difference together, starting with ourselves. Yeah, right?
Absolutely.
So should we do like a rapid fire round of some favorites?
Yeah. What we can do, basically.
What we can do.
Inclusive leaders.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll start. So before making a decision, pause and kind of ask a simple question. Whose voice or perspective is missing in this conversation?
Yeah, because sometimes it's so easy to speak to the people that are in the office next to you because it's convenient. But is maybe working someone remotely from home, or is someone having that will have a different opinion? Can they bring their ideas to the table as well that you might have missed out?
Yeah.
Another one for me is rotate the speaking order in your weekly team meetings, because often the loudest voices are the ones that are being heard, but actually it's the quiet voices that we want to bring to the table because they would have thought through this. And I can talk from my own experience because I'm always someone who comes from that style, talk before you think. So I think a lot of people, I overshadow them if they are too quiet, basically. They're not too quiet, but they are quieter, and therefore I consciously now make an effort.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some people need more time to reflect, right? Before they talk. But I mean, what you could do is to send a follow-up note. So if there's been a meeting and you send an email and say, hey, you seemed very thoughtful, but you didn't get a chance to speak. So any reflections you want to share with me? Yeah. And I'll bring that into the rest of the ideas that we have.
Yeah. And I think another one for me is also really important, really, to review the pattern in your feedback giving, but also in your recognition. Are you giving growth-orientated feedback? Are you tough feedback to everyone? Are you fair to everyone, or are you favoring maybe one person over the other? And what I always liked, so when I'm asking for feedback, I'm intentionally asking people that I know are a little bit more critical of me, because I never trust good feedback. As every human being, I'm always saying, so when someone's like, oh no, everything is great, I said, yeah, right, I'm not asking you again because you always tell me the good things. I want to know, in order to grow, I want to know what is a critical. But I know a lot of people are afraid, and they would always ask that people are in favor of them, especially in performance reviews. So as a leader, you can also think, are you fair? Are you treating everyone the same? And what are your patterns?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, you're doing great is really poor feedback anyway, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it should be a little bit more specific and behavioral and focused on impact than that.
Yeah.
But I mean, the point is, like, all of these things, like, they don't cost $1. They just require you to pay attention.
Yeah.
Right?
And the same goes, by the way, for recognition. Are you recognizing publicly the same people over and over again? And then in other ways, you might only say a little thank you to people that are doing an equally great job, but don't get that recognition for some reason or another, or because maybe I don't have them in mind because they might be sitting remotely.
Yes, yes. And I mean, if we don't stop and reflect, we might not know that we're doing it because we're doing it unconsciously, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we all know this famous saying that people don't leave companies, they kind of leave managers. So culture doesn't really come from C-suite or HR.
No. It's the day-to-day culture and these little habits that we just talked about that can make a really different experience for team members and for people in a company. And this lies all with
the manager. I mean, inclusive managers drive engagement. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And engagement has tons of positive effects, not only for the employees, but I mean, also for the company.
Absolutely. So even if corporate programs go away, you are the culture of the team. So whether you like it or not, the way you behave, the way you run meetings, the way you give feedback, the way you recognize someone, that is all the experience that you can create for a different member. And that makes you having all the power in being an inclusive leader and creating a culture that is inclusive.
Absolutely. So should we make this practical? Because you have this checklist that we are going to mention.
Yeah, I always focus on 4 things. Listen, learn, lift, and lead. And you can take the first one.
Yeah. I mean, listen is about asking yourself, am I truly listening to understand, or am I just waiting until it's my turn, right? So am I giving space for the voices that are not being heard? It's about intentional, active listening.
Yeah. And then learn is for me kind of like being your own inner critical voice and asking yourself, where are my blind spots? What perspective challenge my own assumptions? So often we make some assumptions of things that are never even there, but we just assume them, right? That's, I mean, the whole point of assumptions. But it requires almost kind of like really looking deep into yourself. It also requires humility. And it's about really purposefully and intentionally seeking a different point of view, and also having the grace to admit when you change your mind. Right?
Oh, yes.
This is vulnerability-based trust in the end of the day, where you say, like, I was wrong, sorry.
Yeah.
And it's not easy.
It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
So next is lift. And this one is really critical. So ask yourself, whose work can I amplify? Who on my team needs sponsorship, not just mentorship?
Yeah.
And when I say that, so mentorship is about giving advice and support, right? Yeah. But sponsorship, that's about kind of using your political capital, your network, your relationships to create an opportunity for someone. And never underestimate this, because in the corporate world, in any world, it's important to have exposure and visibility. If no one knows about you.
Yeah. When you're not in the room, it's the people that shout for you, that are fighting for you.
Yes.
And that making sure that you are heard and seen in the company.
Well said. Yeah. Well said. And then we have lead.
So that is about modeling all the behaviors that we're talking about. How am I showing up when no one is watching? So if the camera is out and if no one is watching, how do I behave? Would every single person in my team say, yes, my leader makes room for me and I'm being valued, I'm being seen by my leader? And that's ultimately is a test, right?
Definitely. It really is. You know, as we kind of wrap this up, because we're putting a lot on the shoulders of the leaders now, and you know, it's really important to remember it's not about being perfect. You'll make mistakes. There's going to be situations that you don't get right, but it's about being consistent. And you know what? It's about the courage to keep showing up, to try to get it right.
Yeah. And that's why we always say at the end of the podcast, like lead with curiosity and also with courage, because we won't always get it right, but sometimes it's better to get it slightly wrong, learn from it, correct your behavior, than keep doing the things wrong or not doing anything at all.
Absolutely. And leading with inclusion, like especially now, probably more important than ever, because we might not have all of these big corporate programs to kind of back this agenda up. When no one's watching, when no headline is requiring it, to really show up as a leader and have that courage and curiosity to be inclusive, to see everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a test, right? So let's end it with one clear sentence. Leadership isn't about saying the right words. It's about creating the experience for people. Inclusive leadership is how you make it happen for everyone. And that's it for today's Leadership Effects episode.
If you found this helpful, share it with other leaders, subscribe, connect with us on LinkedIn.
Yeah. But also I would be actually interested from our listeners to hear what is one behavior maybe your manager did to you which made you feel really like you belong to the team, or where you felt really included into the team. It would be really, or maybe what other behaviors that didn't make you feel included and feel really, I want to leave here.
Equally, because I think both can really help other leaders better be inclusive.
Yeah, right? And I'm hoping then a lot of leaders can read about it in the comments and get inspired by new ideas.
Yes.
So with that, we're leaving you, obviously, with
courage
and lead with curiosity.